Ohio State's offense clicks best when Bo Jackson gets the rock.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Tuesday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, veteran sports talk host, delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes, and today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. During today's show, we will discuss some lesser-known players on Ohio State's offense that play massive roles, as well as what a potential change with the running back rotation would mean for those involved. But first, it has been very clear through 3 games that Bo Jackson puts Ohio State's offense in a different realm. Yes, Donaldson and Peoples are good backs. They are solid. Peoples is trying to figure out what it's like to get extended playing time. Donaldson has done that previously at West Virginia, so he's bringing that experience to Columbus, Ohio. But Bo Jackson is different, man. In the Grambling game and in the game against Ohio, it was very clear. His gear, when he hits it, is different than everybody else's. His vision is different. His speed is different. His ability in shifting in the backfield, and once he gets to the second level, it's different. Bo Jackson is different. And as Carson Hinzman said during spring practice, Bo liked that. And I believed it when he said it. But when we are through 3 games, it's very clear Bo liked that. And this is not knocking C.J. Donaldson or James Peoples as running backs. It's not. I don't think Donaldson was ever going to be the full-time starter at Ohio State this year. Yes, I thought he was going to start early in the year because he is the most experienced running back. But through the middle of the year, get into deep in the heart of Big Ten play, and then the latter part of the year, I didn't think Donaldson was going to have that role. I thought it was James Peoples. While I knew Bo Jackson was going to be good at some point, I didn't know how quick it would click for him. Well, it's clicked pretty quickly. And when you got that 64-yard run against the Ohio Bobcats, what did you find? Homie got through the line, put his foot in the ground, and he went. And when he was going, you said, oh, this looks different. Now, you maybe weren't able to describe it, and you may have struggled to find even the sentences to make it seem clear what your thought was about how Bo Jackson was playing the football. And that's okay. That's not a problem. But your eyes could tell you he looks different on the field than Donaldson and Peoples. And while he looks different, it shows up in the stat sheet, but also Ohio State's offense needs a running back that's different. Donaldson is different. Peoples is different, but not as much. Their different qualities aren't as drastic and aren't as big as Bo Jackson's. Now, the one hiccup that you may want to say is Jay, he fumbled against Grambling. Okay, that's true. That's a reality. When you have a true freshman running back, the 2 things you worry about are ball security and pass protection. That's for anybody. Always one of the things that plagued Travion Henderson early in his career. Pass protection. What happened his 4th year? He was a superb blocker, not only in pass protection or in run blocking. He was phenomenal. He was an all-around running back, and that was not something I thought Travion Henderson was going to be able to be even during his junior year. But what did he do? He put it all together, and then he had a phenomenal year. So for Jackson, you're going to have to worry about the ball security, which you know that going into it. But also, while the ball security is a thing, his pass protection hasn't been that bad. It hasn't been one where it's been a major liability. You don't see him in situations where you don't see Sayin consistently on his back when Jackson is in there in his passing situation. You don't see that. And so, yes, the ball security, it is a real thing. That is something that I believe that Ryan Day and Carlos Lachlan are coaching him up very, very hard with, because they know at some point they're going to need Bo Jackson to get 3 yards on 4th and 2. Because I don't think you're going to put Donaldson in a situation over and over and over again. While he is a bigger-bodied guy, I think we saw this past weekend that even against the MAC school, he's not consistently getting those 3 yards. So Jackson might be that guy. And while he might be that guy, homie has to work on ball security, and that's great. But think about what this would mean for Ohio State's offense in regards to Jeremiah Smith, who just went off, or Arcano Tate, who is Mr. Consistent, or Brandon Ennis, who I believe is going to be a bigger piece of Ohio State's offense once we get into Big Ten play, especially against Washington, what Bo Jackson is going to do for them is allow them to have more one-on-one situations. Because now, if you try to put two guys on Jeremiah Smith or Tate, you probably won't double Brandon Ennis. But if you try to, that's going to allow less blockers to have their eyes on and be focused on Bo Jackson. And so if you put more guys and have more attention on the receivers, that's better for Bo Jackson. But if Bo starts getting loose, what does that do? That brings more attention to Bo Jackson, and it opens up passing lanes for all of Ohio State's receivers. And so I think for the Bo Jackson thing, we're going to talk about his numbers here in a second. It's not just about his production as a runner. He is going to cause so many headaches for opposing offenses because they're going to have to focus on Ohio State's running backs a whole lot more. Because honestly, right now, even if you don't look at the stat sheet, you can tell that Ohio State's run game is not hitting on all cylinders when Donaldson or Peoples are in the backfield. It's not. And maybe they're trying to figure out how to work with the offensive line, maybe. But you had spring practice and you had training camp. So it's not like you're rolling into a season without training camp and anything like that. No, you had those scenarios. You had those periods of practice to work with the offensive line. Maybe you want to say, Jay, well, you got Ethan Onianwa in there, and occasionally they may put somebody else in. That's reality, but it's the offensive line. The plays don't change based off the personnel. If Onianwa comes in and Tecker comes out, the play's still going to be the same. If Phillip Daniels has to go out to get his helmet looked at and Ian Moore comes in, the players are going to be the same. And so it's not so much that the play is going to be different. You've got to build chemistry with the offensive line, and you only get that with game reps and real life action. But it seems like when real life action happens, Bo Jackson is a gamer, man, and he turns on the Jets, and he just shows everybody why Bo like that. By the numbers, Bo Jackson has the least amount of carries of Ohio State's top three backs in Donaldson, Peoples, and Bo Jackson. He has the most rushing yards on the year, the most yards per carry on the year, and he has the second most touchdowns among those three guys. Bo Jackson has 18 carries, 217 rushing yards, 12.1 yards a pop, and one rushing touchdown. In comparison to the other guys, Donaldson has 33 rushes for 151, 4.6 yards a pop, and two touchdowns. James Peoples has 25 carries, 126 yards, 5.0 yards a pop, and 0 touchdowns. And this is not a knock on the other two guys. They haven't done what they have been needed to do with what they bring to the table. I think Bo, who also has played one less game than the other two guys, is already showed why he is different. And I think his differences are going to be showing up in a big way in a couple weeks against Washington. That has been announced as a 3:30 Eastern kickoff on CBS when the Buckeyes return after their off week. And Washington is a tough place to play. I know that one of my, almost say fears, one thing I didn't want Ohio State to have to do on that day is go in there when it's a night game, even if it's 7:30 or 8 p.m. Eastern. The later you get in the day, the more rowdy that crowd's going to be, which doesn't fare well for Ohio State. That's not saying Ohio State's not going to win the game, but I think going in there when it's 12:30 local is a whole lot better for Ohio State than going in there when it's closer to nighttime for those wild, liquored up Husky fans. Speaking of wild, liquored up fans, Ohio State fans have really got accustomed to Bo Jackson very quickly. And what would Bo Jackson getting more carries mean for the Buckeyes running back rotation? I'll tell you what that is next. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. I've been playing Prize Picks lately, and it's such a fun way to stay locked in for the season. It's quick, easy, and honestly my favorite way to follow along with football. And the best part, even if one of your picks misses, Prize Picks invented the flex play, so you can still double your money. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Once again, download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 play. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Thank y'all for tapping Locked on Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. So in any season, you're trying to figure out throughout the first quarter of the year what guys should play. And I haven't done this really early in the year, so this may be new for some of the people that are just joining the everyday club, where in any given season, Ohio State has 4 quarters. First 3 games, second 3 games, third 3 games, and the fourth set of 3 games. So the Buckeyes just finished the first quarter of their season with the first 3 games being complete. The Buckeyes are still figuring out their identity. I think we're figuring out a little bit of the identity on defense, the multiplicity that Matt Patricia is utilizing with this unit. On offense, I think you're still figuring it out. But you know about Julian Sayin and how he's quickly become a gamer and figured out how to play college football. Jeremiah Smith, Tate, and Ennis, and Claire, those guys are going to be phenomenal weapons. On offense, though, O-line isn't an issue. Still trying to figure out what the RB rotation is going to be. Get some of those answers throughout the first quarter of the Buckeye season, but I think, and I know you're going to get more answers through the second quarter of the season, which begins after the Buckeyes off week. And when the Buckeyes return to the field, I believe Bo Jackson should get more carries in any game. Bo Jackson should be the man with the most carries. No matter if it's him having 10 and second place having 8, or him having 12 and second place having 11, it doesn't matter. I believe Bo Jackson should have the most carries because he provides the offense with the best scenario for the offense to be the best it can be. I know he's a freshman, but that shouldn't stop you. Imagine a year ago if Ryan Day said, oh, Jeremiah Smith is great, but he's a freshman, so we're not going to play him a lot. That'd be stupid. That wouldn't be smart. Think about back in 2002, if Jim Tressel saw this freshman from Youngstown, Ohio, and Maurice Claret, and they said, oh, you're a freshman, we're not going to play you. People would have pushed back on that very, very hard, because once he got on the field and people saw what he could bring to the table, people would have been like, play him. 100% play him. And so I know Bo Jackson is a freshman, and I know Donaldson came in from the portal to be a part of the RB rotation this year, and he's going to be, but you got to play the best guy. And I believe the best guy is Bo Jackson, which means a shakeup for Donaldson and Peoples in their roles heading forward throughout the year. So what would it mean if Bo Jackson got the most carries? I'm not even going to talk about starting, at least today. Come back maybe tomorrow to talk about that part. But I will say that if Bo Jackson gets more carries, Peoples and Donaldson have to keep their minds right. 100%. I don't know if Ohio State should play 3 running backs. I know that they're trying to have a 3 running back rotation. I'm not really thinking that's going to be needed this year. You might have a scenario where your lead back is Bo Jackson and your backup is Donaldson, and you let it ride. Peoples is the wild card right now. I'm not saying it's going to be bad or that he is bad. I think that he is still trying to figure things out. And at his best hasn't matched or even gone further than Bo Jackson's best or even Donaldson's. I think Donaldson, with his numbers right now, while he doesn't have the same number of yards per carry, I think what he has done with the 33 carries has been very productive. It hasn't been overall productive. There have been some times where he has slipped up, but he has been more productive at times than Peoples. I think Peoples' vision is one thing he can work on. Doesn't that sound very familiar to a running back that I mentioned earlier in the show when Travion Henderson, which one of the knocks we talked about right here on this show with Henderson early in his Buckeye career, was that his vision needed to get better. Why? Because it's hard to go from being a high school player, being a star, coming to Ohio State, not really playing for a year, and then being a guy that's in the rotation or maybe even starting. It's hard to do that because before that, your main time was probably on a practice squad. And when you're probably on a practice squad, yeah, you're getting better. You're doing running back stuff, but it's not Ohio State's offense. A place to work with a different offensive line. So there's a lot to work with. And he's still trying to figure this whole thing out because playing college football is difficult. And these guys got to keep their minds right. They can't get flustered. And they got to just realize Bo was a man for the job. Bo gives Ohio State's offense a different gear. And I think Julian Sayin, while he is young, he has done enough already to have a little bit of a voice to say, look, y'all, we've done some pretty good things. Beat Texas by a touchdown. You scored 70 points. The entire offense scored 70 against, defense had a touchdown too. The team scored 70 points against Grambling, and they scored 39 points against Ohio. Defense has done really good. Well, not overall good, but pretty good to start the year. And the one thing that can make the offense better is to put the right guy in the right position to be successful. Right guys. And if Bo Jackson is one of the best 11 in regards to positions on the team, make sure every position has the right guys, I think Julian Sayin could go to Lachlan, Day, and Hartline to say, put him in. Put him in, put him in, put him in. Because Sayin has already showed Ryan Day and Hartline that he can come to the sidelines and say what he saw. And while he's able to quickly process what he saw and clearly say it out of his mouth, he can also say, here's what I'm seeing on the field. Here's what I'm feeling on the field. Now, you can't always go by your feeling, but sometimes you feel something different with the offense. You feel an energy from the guys up front that gets them more excited to block a little bit harder the next play. Why? Because what just happened the previous play? I've been there. I'm a former offensive lineman, played in middle school and high school. Didn't start playing football, that is, until my 7th grade year. I was in 7th grade at Belzer Middle School. Started playing football, I believe it was, I got there a week late. They had already started practice. I got there. The coach said, yeah, come on in. I had never used a girdle. I had never put on football pads or pants before, so it was all new. A locker room like that, never been in one. And so that was a whole new experience. But one thing I realized was that when somebody had a big time run or we had a big time play, as an offensive lineman, we got so excited. We wanted to go harder and harder and harder. I remember a play my freshman year of high school where we were playing Decatur Central, really good squad. Only beat them by 6. It was 6-0 was the final score. Defensive slugfest, to be able to say, for the entire game. Well, late in the game, we started to get some success, and we were kept going. Finally got the touchdown. Well, we started getting confidence, and we started going harder and harder and harder, and we eventually eclipsed and got that touchdown, and that was enough to win the game. I bring that up, so I start laughing. My guy Dominic Wilson was there, and I think he was right guard, maybe left guard, right guard, one of the two. And Dominique, after the game, we in the locker room, and Dominique starts crying. Man, I love you guys. And I'm thinking, Dominique, man, we just won a regular season game, bro. This is just a regular season game. You talk about you love us. Season ain't even over yet. We got more ball to play. But he like, man, I love you guys. And I'm thinking, dog, man, what you crying for? But as I pushed that game into him, I don't know why that came up, but Dominique, man, that's my guy. Man, I ain't seen that man since we was in high school. Maybe at our 20-year reunion coming up in a couple of years, we will reconnect and talk about, maybe this moment might come up at that point in time. But I remember when somebody had a big play, when our offense had a big play, could have been a run play or a pass play, you wanted to go harder. And the offensive line knows that. The guys in the offense know who's the right guy to play on the field. Jeremiah Smith already praised and propped up Bo Jackson. Ryan Day is starting to talk about things. The running backs are providing what the Buckeyes offense needs. But you know what? Bo Jackson does it a little bit better than the other two, which is why I believe Bo Jackson needs to get the rock a whole lot more. You know who are some guys that might get the rock a lot, but are big parts of Ohio State's offense? I can't let the cat out the bag yet. Come back after the break to find out. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I put up Game Time, and in just a couple taps, I saw amazing deals I'm talking about your favorite college football games as low as $25. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. That's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Thank you all for tapping Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. Bo Jackson gets a Buckeyes offense a different gear, and it clicks in a different rate than it does when Donaldson or Peoples are on the field. And while that is true, there are some guys on Ohio State's offense that are not going to get a lot of attention, but they are a big reason why Ohio State's offense has been so successful early in the year. They're the tight end group. And I don't believe we can look at Ohio State's offense without acknowledging what this unit has provided for Ohio State so far this year. From the 14 personnel that Ohio State used, I believe, against Texas to get the touchdown with Donaldson early in the game, or the first touchdown of the season, that is, or when you see Jelani Thurman out there showing that he is developing as a tight end, or you see Nate Roberts, true freshman tight end, getting on the field, Bennett Christian, Will Kazmarek, who is becoming a receiving threat, or Max Clare getting his first Buckeye touchdown a week ago. There are what else? Will Kazmarek got a touchdown. I don't know if Max Clare did off the top of my head. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I believe this unit is needed for Ohio State to accomplish all of their goals this year. I'm not saying this unit in particular because, of course, the tight ends are going to be utilized, but all five of those guys. With the way that Hartline is calling the play so far, he's learned this thing too. This is Hartline's first rodeo being a consistent play caller. And so when it's your first rodeo and you get a little success early, I'm like, great, let's build upon that. And when he knows he can pull out 14 personnel, if you want to call it 23 personnel, when you have one of your tight ends in the backfield as a fullback, whatever you want to call it, if you want to go with that route, so be it. Why? Because you're figuring out things early that a lot of guys that are novices as offensive play callers struggle to figure out. This unit, Max Clare, Will Kazmarek, Bennett Christian, Jelani Thurman, Nate Roberts. I was hoping Max LeBlanc would be a part of the Grambling game, but he was unavailable. He was ruled out for that game. And so I'm waiting for Max LeBlanc, that is, to get on the field and play, which I don't know when that's going to happen. Maybe latter part of the year, assuming UCLA just fired Deshaun Foster, which is no surprise thing. They started off 0-3 and just didn't really make things click, or they really struggled to figure things out. So I think this unit, though, makes Julian Sayin's job a lot easier. Not just because they're the tight ends, but because when they're on the field, they're hard to defend. A defense can't really say, he's on the field, this is what's going to happen. Or that guy's on the field, this is what's going to happen. They can't do that. No, not at all. What they can do is, okay, we may want to bring in a tight end. Well, if you go Max Clare, Jelani Thurman, and Will Kazmarek on the field at the same time, and you bring in a heavier tight end, a linebacker, your linebacker probably can't defend Thurman, Kazmarek, or Clare in one-on-one situations. The one you might be able to defend is Will Kazmarek, but he has worked very, very hard and diligently worked to be a better receiving tight end. We saw it recently this past weekend. You could tell homie was chucking, trying to get to that end zone, trying to get that tud, because that's hard work paying off. And for Sayin being so early on and having a lot of long touchdown passes, multiple in early in his career that are over 40 plus yards, 30 plus yards, which is a little bit shocking when he's only in 3 games. First time starter, he's thrown eight touchdowns. Did I say interceptions? Maybe I did. He's thrown 8 touchdowns. I saw the interception thing on my screen, and that may have come out of my mouth. But of those 8, a lot of them are a lot longer than you might think a novice starting quarterback would throw. But it makes not only the tight ends make Sayin's job easier, them being on the field, them being productive, them really being the Swiss Army knife. The way that I utilize Caleb Downs quite a bit on the show and describe him as the ultimate Swiss Army knife, I think the same can go for the tight end room. Not saying one guy in particular is a Swiss Army knife, but the entire room overall is a bunch of guys that can do a lot of things well. A bunch of guys that are solid in different parts of the game. And it's going to be fun to watch over the next few weeks because this was literally the appetizer. This is what we can do now. Wait till you find out what we can do in the future. And what has happened now, let's close the show talking about Julian Sayin. This wasn't really the plan for the day, but his numbers are right in front of me. It's pop quiz time. I would like for you to guess what Julian Sayin's completion percentage is without looking. I know some of y'all might be driving and might try to pull out your phone to go to sportsreference.com or any site to look up his stats. Don't do it. Don't do it. Guess what his completion percentage is for the year through 3 games. I'll say it in 3, 2, 1. 78.9%. This is his first time starting in college football. He barely played a year ago. He didn't start one game, but when he got on the field, it wasn't for a long period of time. 56 of 71, 779 passing yards, 8 touchdowns, a touchdown percentage rate of 11.3. This is stuff that you would not expect anybody to do this early. Think about what you got from Justin Fields through the first 3 games, or from Stroud, or McCord, or Will Howard in the first 3 games when they were the first-time starters at Ohio State. Now, Will Howard wasn't a first-time starter, first time starting at Ohio State. Think about their numbers. Go back and look them up. Go back and look them up. And compare their first 3 games. They're going to do a little bit of math. Get your computer out. Or maybe you want to go to ChatGPT and allow AI to help you. Whatever you got to do. Compare their numbers to Julian Sayin's. And I think you'll be able to see how special the start of his career as QB1 has been. This isn't normal. People are literally right now oohing and eyeing at Bryce Underwood. And I get it. He is a shiny new toy. He got a massive NIL deal to go to Michigan. Michigan was just playing a cupcake, and he did what he did. Okay, great. Had a good game. And people are going to look at that, and what Sayin is not going to play this weekend, and Michigan is, they'll say, oh, man, Bryce Underwood, this man, he might go to New York for the Heisman Trophy ceremony. And the next thing you know, Julian Sayin is going to come back after the off week, go to Seattle, Washington, and put on a show. And remind everybody, y'all can keep oohing and on, drooling over the old boy in Ann Arbor. Julian Sayin is a real deal. He's going to show everybody that once again. Trust me. Sayin is different, man. Y'all can do whatever you want about Underwood. Julian Sayin is different. And it's different to show up in a big way every time he's on the field from Jump Street. From week 1 against Texas. You can say he was 13 or 20. Less than 150 passing yards. It was less than stellar. You can say that. But in context, when you watch the game, he literally should have been 16 of 20. Maybe over 200 passing yards. Maybe 225 against a really good defense. And could have potentially beat them by 2 scores. And if that were the outcome, I guarantee you would look at that performance week 1 and say, oh, man, Sayin, man, he did that against the number 1 team in the country? After not having a preseason game? Dog, a little bit different. Well, the everydayers know he's been different. And sometimes people fly in and get to know about an Ohio State player. I get it. But remind them, if there's someone's flying in and trying to join the everydayer club, which you can join, just no fee to hop in and join the ride. Because this is what we do every single day. Talk about Buckeye football, hype up Julian Sayin because he deserves it, and also discuss why Ohio State's offense clicks best when Bo Jackson gets the rock. And it'll be very, very big for Bo Jackson and Ohio State's offense if he started to get more carries. And it's also another big moment for Locked On because college football fans, Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside 2-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview only Locked On can do. College football kickoff catch college football kickoff every Thursday throughout the season only on Fire TV. You can follow me on any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. This has been Locked On Buckeyes on your Tuesday. We'll see you next time.